this is going to be the reading for the Earth signs for the week ahead and the week behind and 2 weeks from now. Whenever you see it, basically should work. So the Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And I do have to warn you that because it's very hot here, I've been having problems with my connection, but now that the sun has gone down, perhaps people will be running their air conditionings less, and the power will kind of be more accessible. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic stand. I'll try not to do that. So, let's get started with the sign of Taurus. This is going to be for Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, basically whatever kind of Taurian energy. Oh, hi, Clark Smith Adventures. Hello. Yes, I do try to mix it up a little bit with the live streams because I realize that sometimes people can catch them at certain times of day and other times people cannot. So I try to mix it up. Eventually, maybe I'll find like a really good time slot that works for everyone. Thank you for coming. It's very good to see you. So Taurus, if you would like, go ahead and focus on your breath. Just relax and allow some free association to occur in your thoughts. Sometimes things seem unrelated at first, and then as we become better acquainted with the different facets of the issue, we see how everything actually fits together. So, if you would, just kind of allow your mind to drift and wander. Some of you might have a very specific intention already in mind. That's perfectly acceptable too. Just allow your thoughts to kind of meander around that particular idea. And if you would, go ahead and set your intention for the reading. When I was having a lot of cards jump out, but I wasn't having a lot of them kind of make an impression on me. It just seemed more like clutter. So there might be a lot of clutter in your workspace right now, Taurus, or there might be a lot of details that are kind of cluttering up a particular situation. A lot of red herrings, so to speak. Alright, so let me go ahead and deal the cards for you. And I'll put the timestamp. Okay, so Taurus, here in your past, we have the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords is showing up upright. So there might be a particular social cause that you have taken on at this time. The Knight of Swords is also kind of a cleansing energy, that you're keeping some things and getting rid of some things, cutting out anything that's not serving you anymore. And it is fire of air energy. So somewhat similar to the King of Wands, but reversed, flipped. Depending too on how you see the King of Wands energy. If you see King of Wands as Sagittarius, you might see the Knight of Swords as Gemini. If you see the King of Wands as a Leo, you might see the Knight of Swords as an Aquarius, etc., etc. But that was kind of a red herring too, because the King of Wands isn't in your reading. Here in the place of the significator, we've got the Three of Cups and the Ace of Swords. There could be big changes going on right now in regards to your very close friend groups. And this would be the kind of changes of maybe, because we've got this Knight of Swords and we also have the Ace of Swords. Sorry, the Ace of Swords here. Pure elemental air energy. We have both of these sword energies, which speak to you, Taurus, in a particular situation, making changes. So this really looks like you are distancing yourself at this time from people that you have previously been very close to, but that for whatever reason, it is no longer in your best interest to maintain close friendships with those people. That can be for a number of reasons, even distance. It doesn't make sense to try to be super emotionally close with somebody who's very, very far away, right? Long distance relationship aside, it's not something that's going to work for everyone. Not saying it can't work for certain people or anything like that. Just saying that some circumstances are deal breakers for some people and not for other people. Down here in the Immensili, this is reinforced, and I do apologize that the dogs are outside barking right now. They just kind of do that. There's not a good way to control them on my end. The Six of Cups is showing up in the reverse in the Immensili, so this is going to be the foundation upon which you build future events. And here we have the Six of Cups reversed, which can indicate that you're leaving behind a lot of things from your past, especially emotionally speaking. So this is also a purgative card when it shows up like this. From your perspective, Taurus, we have fellow fixed sign Aquarius's card from the Major Arcana. The Star card, it's all about hopes and dreams coming true. It's also about the energies that we pour into different social groups. So this is the social group you're already a part of, and this is the social group that you are striving to become a part of. And you're pouring emotional energies into both. Perhaps at some point the two will merge, right? But because this card is showing up in the reverse, you may well be withdrawing your energies from social groups right now. Not necessarily going full hermit here, but particular groups that in the past you had given more of your energy to, perhaps withdrawing from those specifically. And especially where we see this leaving things in the past. That you might be hanging out in different places, meeting new people. We don't have the Ace of Cups here either, but we do have the Two of Cups, and I will get to that in a little while. Here, from an outside person's perspective, looking into your life, Taurus, we have the Magician. And this card has to do with your creativity and your manifestation. It is a card associated with the planet Mercury. This figure has a lemniscate over their head, which indicates the infinite power they receive from Source. They have two wands at their disposal. They have the one here on the table, and they have the one here in their hand. So that's reinforcing that energy of creativity and potency specifically. We also have down at the bottom the red and white flowers, being able to utilize the profane and the sacred in order to accomplish one's goals. So people do see you as someone who is capable of manifesting great things. Here in the future, we do have the Knight of Cups, and this card is reversed. So you might not feel like you can trust yourself right now, especially where it comes to gauging other people emotionally. And the Knight of Cups here is a potential energy because it's showing up reversed in the future, that you at some point probably will trust yourself again. Additionally, the Knight of Cups can be someone who's controlled by their emotions. Or the Knight of Cups can be somebody who is bringing in emotional support to you. This is fire of water energy, so very tempered, very much like the Queen of Wands. So what we have going on here is that we've got the opposite of the King of Wands here, and we've got the opposite of the Queen of Wands showing up reversed in the future. It's very interesting. That does kind of form a void where a pair should be. And a very passionate pair. Here in the hopes and fears, Taurus, we have the Six of Swords reversed. Perhaps you moved, you feel like it might not have been the right thing to do, or you're afraid that you won't be able to move somewhere that you want to move. The Six of Swords reversed indicates a lack of mobility, and it is juxtaposed against the Star card here in the reverse as well. You might be afraid that if you cut yourself off from certain social groups, that it's going to reduce your mobility, or that the particular hopes and fears which are not yet being fulfilled at this time might have to do with mobility also. Here in the midheaven is where that Two of Cups is showing up. So that's going to be the result of leaving the past in the past. This could also be what I see here is if there's a three-way situation. The three-way situation doesn't look contentious, by the way. This card is not showing up in the reverse. But it could be a situation where you always have a friend tagging along who ends up being kind of a third wheel. It could be a polyamorous situation that is not working out the way that you want it to. And that this Ace of Swords means that you're kind of cutting off one of those people. And that's what causes this result of the Two of Cups. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It can also be that from this friend group, one of these people you keep in contact with, or it could be because you separate yourself from a certain friend group. A person is able to maybe even come back into the picture who might not have been able to connect with you prior. Maybe not back into the picture because we have the Six of Cups reversed, remember. But, and that would be why this card is reversed. That if somebody is rushing towards you with emotional support, you might not see this person coming yet. And that is what is going to result in this. Your final outcome: you are not under attack. People are not out looking for what you're doing right now. They see you as very capable, very adept. And remember what I said about the wands and the magician. So in some ways, the magician also has very similar energy to the Two of Wands. However, the Two of Wands, the wands don't intersect. If you draw a straight line between the wand here and the wand here, one of these wands is in a much more passive position than the other. Whereas on the Two of Wands, both are upright. I wonder if you could make a lost comic out of tarot cards and have people get it. But here we've got somebody who's got not quite too many wands on their hands. That would be like the 10 of Wands. But somebody who's been wielding this wand enough that these people around them are like, oh yeah? You know how to use that thing? Why don't you show me what you've got? That's not going to be an issue for you in this current situation. I think specifically, whoever it is you're about to make this emotional connection with, there's not going to be some underlying level of attack underpinning a lot of these interactions. Or the feeling of like you having to be a power couple. I feel like this is indicating there's not like a power couple dynamic there necessarily. And there might have been things about this group that didn't work for you, and it has to do with kind of jealousy and backbiting and things like that, which can be indicated by this card. The other active 7 is the Seven of Swords, which is about betrayal and things like that. This isn't quite that extreme, but it would be kind of like, could be gossiping behind people's backs or saying things about them to leverage to one's own advantage. And so that would indicate that that's not going to be a dynamic in the situations that you want to be a part of moving forward. All right, so that is going to conclude the Taurus reading for this week. And I'm going to move on now to the sign of Virgo, which I'm very interested in because I'm a Virgo rising, full disclosure. I've Wouldn't it be hilarious for a reader to be like, well, I can be totally impartial because I wasn't actually born. I don't have a date of genesis and therefore cannot have a natal chart. And that makes me entirely non-problematic when it comes to giving readings based on astrological energies. That would be a very funny thing for somebody to say. There's no way it could possibly be true, of course. All right, Virgo, if you would, just kind of allow your mind to free itself and have some free association going on. Some of you might have come here for something very specific this evening, but still kind of allow your mind to wander. You never know when you might connect two dots that weren't previously connected. You didn't connect shit. I've connected them. Now I'll put down the timestamp. And we can get started. So here in the past, we have the Queen of Swords in the upright. There was something about which, Virgo, you needed to speak your mind and speak your truth for your own self-defense. And this is continuing into the current situation, whatever this represents. Here in the place of the significator, we have the Five of Swords. This is combat. And you can see the people walking away, the losers walking away in the distance, having been relieved of their weapons. There could be something very contentious over which you are triumphant in the very current environment. You have hedged your bets. You are conserving your resources. You've gone about things in a very conservative way, especially in regard to material resources. So you can see that on this particular card, this figure is holding the pentacle very close to their chest. So that can be metaphorical for, in fact, holding your hand of cards very close to your chest. Here in the Imamsili, we have the court card representing elemental air. Sometimes Libra, sometimes an analog for the Justice card. Having to do with navigating morally gray areas. And this card is in the reverse. Sometimes when this card is showing up reversed, it can indicate that red tape is being used to manipulate a situation. Or that through the letter of the law, someone is being unjustly punished. Sometimes the law can say something and it's very unjust. Taking somebody to court, for example, who doesn't have the money to defend themselves properly, even if they are innocent. They will not get just trial because they don't have the resources against their opponent. So there might be a situation going on like that right now. And there is a lot of combat surrounding this. You have stood on the witness stand. We also have, the Queen of Swords here in the past, upright, and this King of Swords down in the Imamsili in the reverse. That is going to be the foundation upon which future events are built, Virgo. From your perspective, we have the Tower. You're kind of waiting for some other shoe to drop. You're waiting for this disaster to occur. And it's kind of looming over your head as a possibility. from an outside person's perspective, the Ten of Swords reverse. They want it to end just as badly as you do, it looks like. And probably their scenario looks slightly different, but not totally different. They might be holding on because they just don't want to see you win. Because the Ten of Swords would be twice the Five of Swords. But what is going to end up happening in the future, Virgo, is the Eight of Wands, which is good resolution, a lot of closure on all sides, everybody getting the best desired outcome, depending on all of the factors involved. And that everything's going to be basically tied up with a nice little bow at the end. Your hopes and fears. You are hoping for a handful of options that are comparable to one another, and perhaps a little bit of Deus Ex Machina. Because to me, the Four of Cups is not just about all of these options here, but also the fact that the hand that's reaching out to this with this option right in front of this person's face looks like it's coming from the divine. And how many times have we been holding out in certain situations because we've been waiting for Deus Ex Machina, for that, complete revelation to occur out of the blue, because God willed it to be so. Maybe what you're hoping for is an ending, a very destructive ending, because then at least the bloodlust would be satisfied. In the midheaven for you, Virgo, we've got Sagittarius's card, fellow mutable sign. We have one of the angels here. Temperance is kind of an intermediary step between the Lovers and the Judgment card. So with the Lovers card, sometimes it represents love situations, but sometimes it also represents this angel showing up and telling you that there's a choice to be made between the profane and the sacred. Because come Judgment Day, you're going to have chosen the one that will help you ascend to the higher plane. So the Temperance is kind of like mulling over those options, mulling over the two sides of an issue. And through this comes moderation, comes practice, comes deeper understanding. Just like the Star card, the Temperance card is pouring liquid from a vessel and has 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the water. In this particular case, this represents that moderation and the contemplation of both sides of an issue and that balance therein. This is also a result of this King of Swords energy. So where there might be a situation that is being meted out punitively, the result of that might be a better understanding and more moderate terms in the future. The final outcome for you, Virgo, the advice for the reading, is the Six of Wands in the reverse, juxtaposed against that Ten of Swords reversed. There's not going to be like a happy victory in this situation where you ride off into the sunset fully justified, Virgo. There will be good closure with this Eight of Wands. And beyond that, things will not be as contentious and polarized moving forward. But it's not going to be one of those things where you wind up being heralded as a hero on account of your actions in a particular situation, which is fine. That's super interesting, Clark Smith. Thank you for sharing that. So that is going to conclude the Virgo reading for this week. I'm going to move on now to the sign of Capricorn. And I will be going after this over to the members side of the channel to do the crystal scrying with this chunk of obsidian glass. But if that interests you, you're cordially invited. And I do want all of you to know that whether you are just watching, whether you like, share, subscribe, click the bell for notifications so you know when I go live. If you're commenting on the videos or in the live chat, all of those things are so greatly appreciated. And of course, I do appreciate my channel members very much also. But all of those things are so greatly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm going to move on to Capricorn. And Capricorn, if you would, just kind of... It's my pleasure, Clark Smith Adventures, really. Allow your mind to wander. Focus on your breath, and then any accessory thoughts that pop up in your mind, just kind of let them percolate around. Do some free association. You never know when two seemingly unrelated events will end up being very closely related in ways that you didn't recognize at the time. And some of you probably came here today, Capricorn, because you already have in mind a particular intention for the reading. So if that is the case, all of you who wish to do so may now set your intention. And I'll put down the timestamp for Capricorn. And then we can get started. So here in the past, we have the Ace of Wands, and it's reversed. This card can be about potency, it can be about control, it can be about creativity and creative potential that you personally are putting into action. So this card showing up in the reverse in the past might indicate for you, Capricorn, a time when you were swinging that stick in whatever form that takes. Ace of Wands is also pure fire elemental energy, and so can be a lot about movement and activity. And here in the current situation, we've got some juxtaposed major arcana cards. We have a few major arcana cards in your reading, Capricorn. I would say it's about half major arcana, actually. We have the World card in the place of the significator. So your ruling planet of Saturn is the World card. It's also associated with elemental earth energy and the fixed signs of the zodiac. And your sign is obviously connected through that Saturnian connection, but it can represent something being established, concretized, something being solidified. It's a very slow moving energy. And that has to do with completions. The world card's inertial spinning. And she has these two wands in her hand. So, like the magician, actually, there are two wands on this card, much more like they are configured on the Two of Wands. So, that manifestation, we're seeing the potential for it to be complete. We're also seeing planning for the next cycle. This is crossed by the Chariot card, which is about victory and mobility. That mobility is very counter to this very slow-moving energy of the World card. But there might be a victory for you and a certain amount of mobility attached to that you haven't explored that kind of freedom before. And it will be because of the completion of a particular cycle. Ace of Wands in the reverse like this could have also been a magical working that you put into practice and could specifically have to do with sex magic. And this would be the fruition and realization of that magical working. Doesn't have to be sex magic specifically, but could have been associated with elemental fire. Sex magic could have been a creative endeavor. You get the idea. Down here in the Imam Silai, we have the Strength card. And this is somebody who, like the magician, has that lemniscat on their head, indicating eternal power, infinite power, coming from source. We're not quite sure how they are going about closing the mouth of this very dangerous beast, but that is in fact what they're doing. How much pressure are they using? Are they having to strain very much? Or are they indeed just gently stroking the animal's jaw and encouraging it to gently close its mouth? They make it look so easy. From your perspective, Capricorn, we have the Ten of Cups. This card is upright, and it indicates there will be an emotional fulfillment occurring in this situation for you. But notice that none of these people are really engaging with each other. They've got their arms around each other. The kids are kind of dancing over here. But these two people are more basking in the glow of what their joint emotional substance has produced, which is, of course, this rainbow made out of 10 chalices in the sky. So there's the ending potentially to an emotional cycle coming around for you at this time. Something that would be a victory and a completion. We see a good completion here. You want to see the Ten of Cups or the Ten of Pentacles. You don't want to see the Ten of Swords or the Ten of Wands necessarily. From an outside person's perspective looking in, we have the Lover's card in the reverse. And this is where the angel shows up and asks you what your choice might be between the profane and the sacred if you had to make a choice, because you will have to make a choice in the future. This can also be about love relationships, and where this card is reversed, somebody might not be wanting to be in a romantic situation with you. Especially, there's going to be some kind of closure here There's the potential for romantic love, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen, because strength is required. This is also Leo's card in the Major Arcana. Like I said, a lot of Major Arcana cards in your reading this week, Capricorn. This is an invitation to ascension, basically. And it's possible that someone is not wanting to accept that invitation at this time. Here in the future, we have the Five of Pentacles reversed. So that can be about a possible scarcity situation around the corner, the potential for that. It can also mean that in the future, all of these things that have to do with the scarcity mentality and the situations that might have led to that are all going to be left behind you once and for all. That's also possible. Here in your hopes and fears, I kind of had two cards come out at the same time, which is the Wheel of Fortune and the Seven of Swords. You're hoping that you're going to be able to get one over on somebody, possibly, because fortune is turning in your favor. And inversely, that people are not going to be able to get one over on you. The Wheel of Fortune is very similar to the World card, and we have a reading now where I can hold them up side by side. They both are fixed sign energy. The Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter, that we're still in that expansion arc. And then, of course, the world being Saturn, that we're in that solidifying part of the cycle. So the Wheel of Fortune, much like the Sphinx is seated here at the top, is this increasing part of the cycle when it is upright. When it is reversed, we're talking about the decreasing part of that cycle. And as a reminder that what goes up must come down, and these cycles are perpetual. There's no escaping them, except that you'll find yourself in a different cycle. Up here in the midheaven, we have walking away from all of these cups into which you have poured your substance. This person doesn't even really know where they're going, just that they're walking away from this. And this might actually be a victory for you. That finally this work is complete. The victory has been had. And now you can finally walk away from a particular situation. The implication is that it's unfinished here, but remember, from your perspective, you see it as being fulfilled. You see that cycle as being complete. So we can purely read this as walking away from something now that everything is finalized. We also have strength in this deck is another 8, and this is an 8. And it could be about having the strength to walk away from a particular situation. Your final outcome for the reading, Capricorn, is the Four of Swords. And this is juxtaposed against where we have that Lover's card in the reverse. So this is a reminder not just to get enough rest and relaxation and hydration, etc. You know how I call the Four of Swords the nap time card, if you've been watching this channel for very long. And that potentially the correct path is the path of least resistance here. Also note that here in the future, that Five of Pentacles, the two figures are together. And here in the final outcome, the figures alone. Here in the Eight of Cups, figures alone. Even on the Chariot, the World card, Strength card, all of those figures are solitary. The figures that are coupled in this reading, we've got the Lover's card reversed, we've got the Ten of Cups, and we have this Five of Pentacles. So throwing yourself also potentially from a cycle that is purely emotional in nature into a cycle that has aspects tied to your material resources. Hi, Marie. Hi, Kayla's lovely. I haven't been glancing over there at the chat very regularly, so I apologize for not saying hello sooner. I get a little wrapped up in the readings, and I moved my laptop from this side to this side. So now I have to make sure I look over here and that I acknowledge you guys, because it is so good to see you. That is going to conclude the Earth sign readings for this week. Hi, Em. Hi. I'm going to go now over to the members side of the channel and do some crystal scrying for Earth elemental energies. If that interests you, you are cordially invited, but your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. And until we meet again,